You know what nobody tells you
Life
about
and
money?
career.
That the first $50,000 of your net worth is the most painful, the slowest, and the most emotionally confusing money you will ever make. You grind for years. You pay off debts, you try to save, you invest a little, you say no to stuff your friends are doing. And your net worth graph is just this stupid wiggly line around zero. Negative when you're swiping the card. Barely positive after tax refunds or bonuses. Back down again when your car explodes or your landlord raises the rent. Then, one random Tuesday, you open whatever app you use to track this stuff. Maybe it's Mint, maybe it's Personal Capital, maybe it's just a spreadsheet you made in a fit of motivation, and you see it. $50,237. You stare at it for a second. Nothing in your life feels different. You still drove the same car to work. Your coworkers didn't throw you a party. No one at Starbucks gave you the welcome to the wealthy discount. But something in your chest shifts a tiny bit. Because for the first time ever, if you sold everything, paid off everything, and walked away, the number at the bottom isn't zero. It isn't negative. It's $50,000. And there's this weird, quiet thought. Wait. I'm not broke anymore. I'm okay? Like actually okay? If you've never seen that number, it feels impossible. If you've already crossed it, you know exactly what I'm talking about, even if you've never put it into words. And that moment is what I can't stop thinking about. My name is Alex, and I spend way too much time obsessing over weird little turning points in people's financial lives. The invisible levels where you're not rich, but the game secretly changes. And $50,000 of net worth is one of the biggest ones that almost no one talks about. Not $1 million. Not 6 figures of income. Just your first 50 grand that you actually own. In this video, I want to show you why that number is such a psychological and mathematical tipping point, how life feels different on the other side of it, and, if you're not there yet, what to focus on to get there way faster without losing your mind. Because once you understand what actually changes after $50,000, you'll stop treating it like some random savings goal and start treating it like what it really is. The line between money is constantly happening to me and money is finally starting to work for me. Let's start with the part everyone underestimates, the math. 1. Why $50,000 is not rich. But it's a different game. On paper, $50K is not a huge number. It's not retirement. It's not never work again money. In some cities, it's barely a year of rent. So why does it matter so much? Because $50,000 is roughly where compounding stops feeling like a rumor and starts feeling like a second income. Let's run a couple of simple numbers. Say you've got $5,000 invested. You do everything right, the market gives you 10% 1 year. That's $500. Cool. You're happy, but it's not life-changing. You could wipe that out with one random car repair. Now take $50,000 invested. Same 10% year. That's $5,000. You didn't do anything different. You didn't pick a hotter stock. You didn't study finance for 10 years. You just had more chips on the table. Which means, at $5,000, your investments are a cute side quest. At $50,000, your investments are starting to feel like an extra part-time job that you don't have to show up for. If you're earning, say, $60,000 a year at your job, and your money quietly earns $5,000 on the side, you just gave yourself almost a 10% raise without asking anybody's permission. And hey, raise where it gets fun. That $5,000 in growth doesn't disappear, assuming you don't yank it out and blow it. Next year, you're not just earning returns on $50,000. You're earning on $55,000. 8% of $55,000? About $4,400. 10%? $5,500. You saved once. Then the money started saving itself. People throw around compounding all the time like it's a buzzword. Let compounding do the work for you. But the honest truth is, under like $20,000 to $30,000, compounding feels fake. The numbers are too small. Your contributions are still doing 98% of the work. Somewhere between $30,000 and $50,000, that balance shifts. By $50,000, your returns finally feel like they matter. They finally show up as real dollar amounts, rent money amounts, car repair amounts, take a little trip amounts. You wake up one day and realize, oh, my money actually did something this year. That feeling is huge. Because once you see it, you can't unsee it. And suddenly, saving and investing stops feeling like punishment and starts feeling like building a machine. But the math is only half the story. The other half is what $50,000 does to your brain. 2. The psychological upgrade from, please don't break, to, it'll be fine. There's this version of you, maybe this is you right now, whose entire money mindset can be summed up as, I hope nothing bad happens this month. You're not being dramatic. One layoff, one medical bill, one family emergency, and your whole setup collapses. Rent becomes a question mark. Groceries go on credit. Every unexpected notification on your phone spikes your heart rate. That's fragile mode. You might be smart, you might be working hard, you might even be earning good money, but your life is financially fragile. Now imagine another version of you. Same job. Same city. Same exact income. The only difference is, over the last few years, this version of you has slowly stacked up a net worth of $50,000. Not just cash, but a mix of a few months in an emergency fund, some investments, maybe a little equity in a car or a home. No insane debts dragging you under. What changes? Not your car. Not your commute. Not your apartment. What changes is the voice in your head. When your boss hints at layoffs, you're concerned, not terrified. If you did lose your job, it would suck. You'd be stressed. You'd be on Indeed all day. But you wouldn't be thinking, I could be homeless in 6 weeks. You'd be thinking, okay, I have time. I have options. I don't have to accept the first awful thing that shows up. That difference, having options versus having none, is everything. Because when you have options, your brain can finally stop obsessing over survival and start thinking about strategy. You stop asking, how do I get through this month? And start asking, what would I actually do if I didn't have to panic about money? That's the mental shift that happens somewhere around $50,000 net worth. You become less desperate in job negotiations, less reactive to small expenses, less likely to say yes to soul-sucking situations just because you need the paycheck. And at the same time, more confident pushing back at work, more willing to invest in yourself, courses, moves, opportunities, more comfortable taking planned risks. People talk about FU money like it's some millions of dollars thing. For most normal people, their first real I can walk away if I have to money happens long before that. It's not $5 million. It's not $500,000. It's that first $30,000 to $50,000 cushion that takes you from breakable to bendable. You can wobble, but you won't snap. 3. How $50,000 changes your relationship with work. Let's talk careers for a second, because this is where I see the $50,000 shift hit people the hardest. Picture two coworkers. Same age. Same job. Same salary. Casey has a net worth of basically zero. Whatever comes and goes out. Jordan has quietly built up around $50,000 over the last few years. Now their boss pulls them into a meeting and says, "Hey, we're reorganizing some things. We need you to take on more responsibility. There won't be a raise right now, but it's a great opportunity." How do they respond? Casey, with $0 net worth, hears, "If you don't say yes to this, you are risking your paycheck, your rent, your entire life." So Casey says, "Of course, whatever you need, even if it's unfair. Even if it leads to burnout. Even if it delays job searching for a better role." Jordan, with $50,000 behind them, hears, "You would be doing more work for the same pay. Is that worth it to you? If not, you can say no, and you'll still be okay." They might still say yes, but it's a choice, not a fear reaction. Similarly, when a new job opportunity shows up, Casey is terrified of any gap between paychecks. The idea of leaving a job before finding the next one is unthinkable. Jordan can afford to take a calculated risk, quitting a toxic job a little before the next one is lined up, or taking a role with lower pay but higher growth. That doesn't mean you should be reckless once you hit $50,000. It just means money stops forcing you to stay small. Your net worth becomes a buffer between you and bad decisions. You negotiate differently when you know that, worst case, you can live off your savings for a while. You perform differently when you're not constantly in "I can't lose this job or my life implodes" mode. And employers can actually see it. Confident people with options, carry themselves differently. They're more likely to ask for raises, set boundaries, volunteer for high-impact projects instead of low-value busy work. And guess what? Those are the people who get promoted, which then grows their income, which then grows their net worth, which then gives them even more confidence. Positive feedback loop. $50,000 is where that loop really starts for a lot of people. From everything is a threat to wow, that's an opportunity. Hey race, another underrated thing that changes after $50,000. Your ability to see and use opportunities. When your net worth is basically zero or negative, almost everything that costs money feels like a threat. A friend invites you on a trip? Panic. There's a course or certificate that could boost your income? Panic. Your company lays people off but offers severance if you volunteer? Panic. You judge everything by, can I survive this? Not, could this actually make things better long term? With $50,000 behind you, that calculus changes. Suddenly you can look at things like moving to a new city for a better job, paying for a skill building program, taking an unpaid internship that could lead to a much better role, starting a small side business. And evaluate them based on return on investment, not, will this put me on the street? You can put, say, $3,000 into something with a realistic expectation that it might turn into $10,000 plus over the next few years. Before, $3,000 was, my car blows up and I can't go to work. Now, $3,000 is 6% of my net worth that might unlock a much better future. Same dollars. Different context. Different you. And this is where wealthy people's annoying phrase, "it takes money to make money," actually starts to make sense. It's not that you need millions to start. It's that once you have that first solid foundation, you finally have the space to say yes to good bets. You're no longer fully booked reacting to bad surprises. 5. The identity shift. You become the person who can save $50,000. Let's talk about something we almost never talk about with money: identity. When you've never had anything, it's very easy to see yourself as bad with money. Even when you're trying your best. You think, I'm just not a saver. I always mess this up. People like me don't become wealthy. That's for other people. And your brain loves being right. So it keeps dragging you back toward the version of you that feels familiar. Getting to $50,000 net worth is not just a math achievement. It's an identity achievement. Because think about what you had to do to get there. You had to consistently live below your means. You had to say no to some short-term fun. You had to resist blowing every bonus, tax refund, or raise on lifestyle. You had to keep going when the number moved slowly and nobody else cared. That's not a one-time trick. That's a habit. Or really, a set of habits. And once you've done that long enough to see $50,000 staring back at you, you can't honestly say, I'm just bad with money anymore. You might still have areas to fix. You might still have debt. You might still make dumb emotional purchases sometimes. You're human. But you have evidence now. Evidence that you follow through. Evidence that you can delay gratification. Evidence that you can handle money without instantly self-destructing. And your brain updates. You go from, I'm someone who can't seem to hold on to money, to, Am someone who can stack 50 grand from scratch. If I can do 50, I can do 100. And that identity shift is insanely powerful. Because future decisions stop feeling like, maybe this time I'll magically be disciplined, and start feeling like, this is just what I do now. You are no longer trying to become a saver. You are a saver. You are no longer trying to become an investor. You are an investor. Sounds cheesy. I get it. But the people who quietly win with money over decades aren't the ones with the fanciest spreadsheets. They're the ones who change how they see themselves. $50,000 is often the first big, undeniable piece of proof that you've changed. 6. Getting to $50,000, the unsexy, realistic path. Okay, so if you're listening to all of this from the other side, maybe your net worth is negative, or it's a few $1,000 and that's it. This might all sound nice but far away. So let's talk about actually getting there. Because this is where a lot of people mess up. They try to go from 0 to 50 like it's a sprint, get burned out, and then swing back to, screw it, it'll be broke forever. Don't do that. Think of it more like phases. Phase 1, stop the bleeding. You can't build net worth if you're leaking everywhere. This is where you get that first $1,000 to $2,000 buffer. List your debts and identify the high-interest killers. Cut or downgrade any obviously dumb subscriptions or lifestyle stuff you don't even enjoy. Your goal isn't to be perfect. It's to get your head above water so you can think. Phase 2, build positive momentum. Once you're not in full crisis, you shift focus to 2 levers. Income, can you get a raise, switch jobs, pick up freelance work? Savings rate, what percentage of your take-home can you consistently set aside? You aim for investing or saving 10 to 20% of your take-home if you can. If that's not possible yet, start with 5% and increase it every time your income goes up. At this stage, your net worth will move slowly. That's normal. Every $1,000 feels like a battle. This is also where most people quit. They look at their $3,000, $7,000, $12,000 and think, this is pointless. They'll never get to 50. But if you run the math, something interesting happens. Let's say you're able to set aside $1,000 a month between savings and investing. Your average return on the invested portion over time is around 7 to 8%. Roughly. Your first $10,000 might take 10 months. Your next $10,000 takes less, because your investments are chipping in. By the time you're going from $30,000 to $50,000, your money is adding a meaningful chunk each year. The first half of the journey feels like dragging a boulder uphill. The second half feels, not easy, but lighter. You just have to survive the boring part. Phase 3, defend the line. One weird thing that happens when people hit $50,000? They celebrate. By doing exactly the kind of thing that kept them broke before. New car. Huge trip. Expensive move. Big furniture splurge. Whatever. And suddenly $50,000 becomes $31,000 and they're like, oops. So when you're closing in on this number, you want to decide in advance what $50,000 means for you. Common approaches that work. $50,000 is my new zero. I don't let my net worth fall below this line unless the world is on fire. I can spend anything I make above $50,000 for a while, but the base stays. Once I hit $50,000, I'll allow myself one small celebration purchase, under $500, under $1,000, and that's it. The rest is locked. You're not depriving yourself. You're protecting the level you just unlocked. Because once you've seen what life feels like with that cushion, you won't want to go back. 7. What happens after $50,000? Last piece, because people always ask. Okay, Alex, so what's next? If $50,000 is level 1, what's level 2? There are different ways to think about it, but a simple framework is $0 $10,000, survival level. $10,000 $50,000, stability level, buffer plus no toxic debt. $50,000 $200,000, acceleration level, compounding starts to really matter. $200,000 plus, freedom planning, work becomes more optional over time. Once you've hit $50,000, your goals shift from "I just don't want to be broke anymore" to "How can I use this foundation to build choices?" That might mean pushing your investing rate higher, starting to think about home ownership if it makes sense in your area and for your life, investing in skills or businesses that can grow your income faster, reducing how much of your life you have to trade for money. But all of that is built on the same base. You are no longer fragile. You have enough behind you that one bad month won't erase you. That's the magic of $50,000 net worth. Not that it makes you rich, but that it makes you resilient. So if you're under that number right now and it feels miles away, I want you to remember this. Almost everyone who's ever hit $50,000 started out feeling exactly how you feel. Confused. Behind. A little embarrassed. A little angry that nobody taught them this earlier. The only difference is, at some point they stopped treating money like vibes and started treating it like a series of levels they could actually climb. You don't need a perfect plan. You don't need to do everything at once. You just need to get out of pure survival. Kill the debt that's bleeding you dry. Build an income you can grow. Turn on automatic investing. And defend your lifestyle from eating every raise. If you keep doing that, clumsily, imperfectly, but consistently, you wake up one day, open your app, and there it is. $50,237. And nothing in your life looks different. But everything about your future is. And that's when you realize you're not trying to get rich overnight. You're just quietly becoming the kind of person for whom being broke is something that happens in old stories. Not in your actual life anymore.